So today we're going to talk about how a different type of debt payoff method really helped me to get my finances in order and really helped me to set stronger goals around being debt free. So before we get started, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so that you don't miss anything that's going on. So many people talk about the debt snowball method, which is big when you are trying to pay the smallest balance first. Other people talk about the debt avalanche method, which the debt avalanche method is mathematically you will pay less interest over time. And so you're able to, reap the benefits of not paying so much interest. However, with that, you might not see as much progress as quickly because sometimes the largest balances might have the highest interest rates and you're trying to knock those down as quickly as possible. A method that is not really kind of new, but is new with this term is called the debt lasso method. Now, before you be like, Alexis, what is the debt lasso method? Let me help you out. So you might have heard of people using like balance transfer cards in order to move their debt from one card to another to get 0%, right? That was too confusing to me. And for me, I was just like, you know what? There's so many accounts. There's so many, like, trying to figure out what's where. You look at your bank account one day and you're like, where's all this money going, right? So what I did was I used the debt lasso method to take as much as my debt as possible and bring it into one payment. Now, you can do that with balance transfers, but there's a limit to how much you can do, and you still have to be in good standing, right? So like if a card denies you, then you can't do the balance like transfer method. But what I did with Debt Lasso is that I went and got a personal loan. I calculated all the debt that I was trying to get rid of at one time, which is credit card debt. And I put it all in a personal loan, so I was able to pay the cards off immediately because they do transfer the money within your account within 24 to 48 hours. And I have been able to make one payment. Now, for me, Debt Lasso with personal loans worked because of a couple of things. One, my monthly payment was significantly lower by having this one personal loan versus having like the different card payments, right? And that for me was taking the highest payment that I've ever had with a specific card or with each card account, and I added it all together and I said, okay, if I cannot get my monthly payment down like $300, $200, whatever, then it's not worth it, right? So you have to be cognizant of that, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to end up wrapping all your debt up and your monthly payment is more, because then that's just going to put you behind and that puts you in a negative spot. The second thing was interest rate. So my interest rate was also significantly lower when I did the debt lasso method with a personal loan versus all of my cards put together on average. So literally look at your your card agreement, or even just like ask the customer service like desk or automated person. I don't mind talking to people on customer service, but I just try to get quick, straight to the point. And I asked them what was my current interest rate. And we know that inflation has been happening and there's been rise and falls of, the different things happening in the World Bank and all of that. But the interest rates have been fluctuating with credit cards. And you might have seen a higher payment than normal. This is literally like if the interest rate was not 2 or more points lower than the average interest rate I was paying on my cards combined, then it's not worth it. And so for me, it was worth it because of those two things. My monthly payment was significantly lower and my interest rate was lower. And when I say 1 to 2 points for the interest rate, I'm talking about like if it dropped from like, let's say somebody has an interest rate of 30% on a card and you do Debt Lasso with personal loan like I did, you are now paying an interest rate of 27% or 28%. Like, I really I really had to shop around and figure out, like, okay, what was a personal loan that was good for me. The great thing for me was I had already been doing the debt snowball method, and it was going fine, but I wasn't seeing the progress as fast as I like. So I was like, you know what? Let me take a personal loan and just put it all together. And I know people will be like, but Alexis, that's just creating more debt. Well, I have the debt anyways. And so for me, psychologically, I also knew that once I paid this card off, I'm closing it. Now people be like, whoa, 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 why are you closing the cards? Like, you can hack, getting trial points here. Nope, nope, nope. That's what got me in the issue in the first place. So what I decided is you know what? I did two things. I wrote down the accounts that I knew I was going to close. Like, the benefits weren't serving me. I didn't use the card like that. I'm just paying it off, like, just to, have the balance clear. I knew that once I paid it off, 24 hours later, I was calling that automated line, or I was logging into that account and I was closing it. And it didn't matter what type of card, it did not matter. Now, the caveat to that also was one of the cards that I debt lassoed was the oldest credit card that I've had. And people talk about, like, our parents talk about how, like, when they went to college, they would just have pamphlets and you can sign up for credit cards like that. I think I got more emails than anything, sure. But my first card was a Discover card, and Discover is pretty common amongst college students that I've seen. And Discover has a secured credit card, but I didn't have a secured credit card because I was privileged enough to have a decent credit score going into college, and I didn't get a credit card until, like, my third year of college. So my oldest card was literally, like, my junior year of college. So that's that. I didn't close that account. What I did was I called and I told the credit card issuer, I was like, hey, I've run into some financial instability, which is not a lie. Like, you're trying to get your life back on track and you realize, like, you're in over your head. Like, I was like, look, I need support. Most of the time you could tell them that you need financial assistance with payments. And so I was just, like, biting the bullet and calling every credit card and being like, hey, like, I need to get to the point where I know that I can pay my card off. Now, if you call for some companies, they're going to say, if you get on this financial plan, like, we're going to close your card at the end of it. For the cards I had to do that for, I was okay. I was okay with that. Why? Because I knew I was not going to use that card anymore. And I didn't want to be stuck in this hamster wheel of, let me try to, use it or hack it for something. No, I've read a few personal finance books, and also in college I took a personal finance class because it was low-key a requirement, but not a requirement. But for my college, within like the bigger university of UGA, the, like, consumer econ department was within my small college. So it was just like everybody took the personal finance class because it was realistic and it was helpful. And as a teacher, like, later on in life, like, the things I learned in that class are still applicable to what I was teaching students. So it made sense for me to take that class. But anyways, I was okay with them saying, we're going to close this card, because I knew that I was not going to try to hack that card. I've read a lot of books. I have read Ram It, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I have read one by Erin Lowry. I cannot remember her Instagram name. I follow Bitch I'm Budgeting on Instagram. Selma, love her, because she's also an educator. And so she talks about, like, how to pay down, like, even with jobs that might not be, the best. I follow The Broke Black Girl on Instagram. Who else do I follow? I don't know who else I follow. But the books, I've read like 4 or 5 books. Some of them, again, from that class I took in college. But then I really like Ramit's book because it also has a workbook with it. And I've done the workbook with my husband, and I think it's been great. I've also, like, used snippets from my friends. And I have the hard copy workbook and I have the ebook for his like regular book. And I found that the ebook for me is like easy to look up. Like he has certain scripts in there that I found useful to talk about like lowering my APR or getting rid of an annual fee. And even if it didn't work for like removing those things, what I did, I decided, I was like, what do I really need this card for? Like, what am I using this card for? And I was like, okay, is it worth it for me to move from, you know, a card with an annual fee versus a card without an annual fee? And sometimes I've just been like, oh, I'm going to stick with the annual fee. The other times I've been like, I'm moving to the card without the annual fee because no. And I just knew that that was what was going to work best for me. So I will link recommendations down in the bottom that have worked for me and that I really, really enjoy. So yeah, Debt Lasso, like Dave Ramsey will talk about like, you don't want to, and I don't want to like crapshoot Dave Ramsey. Like for people that are really, really like trying to get out of a certain place, like the principles of budgeting that Dave Ramsey has, it's good. I'm not gonna lie, I use Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar app, but the way that I've gone about consolidating my debt has been helpful for me because now I'm throwing everything at this one loan, and I'm like paying the minimum then paying extra, paying the minimum then paying extra. And what's helpful is that the monthly payment was lower than what I was paying for the cards individually. So now that extra wiggle room I'm able to put at the debt. Do know with personal loans that you have to compensate for the origination fee. And personally, I was okay with that because I was like, look, like at the end of the day, this is all just going to make sense. Like it's all going to click. And it has clicked for me. It has basically made me be like, you know what? I never want to be in this position again. I never want to be like, wow, I am living beyond my means. Because honestly, during COVID, it was very easy. I was teaching on Zoom. I could eat out when I wanted to. I wasn't married. I had no kids. I was living life. But I was in a town that didn't really have much to do. So I was like shopping online and just doing the things. And it built up. Like, and you have to forgive yourself for the past mistakes that you've had when it comes to budgeting. The broke black girl said that the other day, and I had to remind myself, like, it is okay to start from scratch. I will say, like, I have used a mixture of different things to, get me in a place where I am more stable than when I first started teaching or when I first started working. I now like have an emergency fund. It might not be 3 to 6 months, but I have an emergency fund. I have sinking funds. Like Selma on Bitch I'm Budgeting talks a lot about having a sinking fund, and I have a sinking fund for the things that I want. Even just like when I'm in this space now of like paying off debt, preparing for like increase, because you can't ask God for an increase when you have not been doing what you're supposed to do with what you have. And so I realized like I cannot continue to ask God for increase if I'm not stewarding what I already have correctly. And so I was like, all right, like if I want this item, like I'm going to have to budget for it. That means I might not be able to eat out. That means I have to cook more at home. That means I have to be more cognizant with like the little things I do. Like I had to stop CrossFit. And you can ask my friends, I was an avid CrossFitter, but in order to reach my financial goals, I needed to trim down my budget and also get my debt into a place where it was like, okay, I can do all of this at once, right? And so for me, like I had to decrease eating out. I have an Apple Watch. I have an iPhone. So I was like, I'm already paying for like the extra storage and it comes with Apple Fitness. I need to do the Apple Fitness workouts. I need to walk. Do a dance workout. I needed to do things that were a little bit more accessible and easier on my pocket. I canceled subscriptions. Now I am the queen of buying yearly subscriptions, and so I took all of my subscriptions off of auto pay. So come whenever they're due, some of them might continue, some of them might not. It gives me a chance to rethink, like, when's the last time I used this, right? I definitely did a spending audit and said, what areas am I spending on? I started pulling out cash. People sleep on cash, and I was using cash for groceries, and I was using cash for eating out, and it made me realize, like, I was spending way more. Like, I was having a time, baby, and I needed to be budgeting. I needed to be more cognizant. And so now, like, if I want to, have a little pizzazz for dinner one week, I budget for that. I figure out, what are meals that I know, like, are lower cost? What are even the sales that are happening? Now, trust me, I have been, like, doing coupons. I have, like, looking at different stores and seeing, like, okay, what's quality for a lower price. I've been doing all of that. I just had to get back disciplined with doing that, because it's very easy to, like, get on the hamster wheel and be like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then you get on this hamster wheel of, like, oh, maybe tomorrow. That's really how I got with CrossFit when I was paying monthly, and I was like, Jesus, I ain't been to sessions. So I decreased my membership, still wasn't going. I said, okay, it's time to cancel. So yeah, I am on a pathway to financial freedom that I am, honestly, it is more enjoyable now because I have goals at the end of it. I think that's the other thing about debt payoff. Like, what goals are you trying to achieve? And for me, it was an increase in my credit score, so that when I do go to God and I pray and I fast and I say, hey, God, like, I am yearning for this, and then he figures out what the plan is and is like, all right, here we go, it's gonna go like this, then I'm like, cool, like, I have fasted and prepared for more, and I'm not fumbling the bag. Like, I think about that often. Like, as many times that God could have been like, you fumbled this bag again, I'm not gonna put you in a position to do X, Y, and Z. He's allowed me to do those things, and I'm eternally grateful because he is the all-time provider. And I think for me, it's just giving me a mental clarity that, I've had when I've done budgeting before, but now that I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing, this is where we are, this is what we're focused on, I'm even talking to my mentees and former students and being like, you don't have to put yourself in debt in a negative light, like negative debt. Like, here's the thing. I have student loans, and personally, I plan on working for public service for the rest of my life, so I'm not worried about student loans. But you don't have to put yourself in consumer debt in order to keep up with the Joneses. Like, it's not like that. And honestly, as a woman, I think what we sometimes get accustomed to is, like, if you had a very positive upbringing, like, and you're used to swiping the car and being like, oh, it's taken care of, like, you have to think, like, that money had to come from somewhere. Like, you have to budget for those things, and it's okay to shower yourself and take care of yourself and to say you deserve these things, but you just have to plan. And so for me, that was just really the reminder of, like, one, it ain't about me no more sometimes. Like, I got responsibilities and people that depend on me. But two, like, it is okay for me as a Black woman to say, I do good deeds. I, work hard. I've done what I needed to do in my professional life and my personal life, and I deserve something, like, that is tangible. There's nothing wrong with that, but it also, you don't want it to come at the price of now you're financially unstable. And I really do thank God, because I can think about times where I manifested something where I said, I'm aiming for that. And I didn't really know, and things were a little, shaky, but not shaking in the sense of like, you know, I was gonna be without, but more so like the path wasn't always clear. And him redirecting me to being very firm in budgeting and ensuring that, you know, I do the things that are going to set me up for better was just all a part of his plan. And I'm grateful that, you know, he's kept me and he's shown me the light. So if you want to like talk more in depth about, you know, Debt Lasso, just shoot me an email. And just like how my progress is going, feel free. I will link to some things that I do use that I've mentioned in the video. So like, remember I said I do use Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar app. I do like it. And it's great for me because there's also a paycheck planning part in the paid version. I do have my FICO, so it is the paid version of watching your credit score, just to see where like holds are. And I am in the process of like cleaning up my credit report. So if you like are interested in like stuff like that, like I will suggest Ramit's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I can also like link the workbook in the description. And I will also like put the account usernames for people that I follow that have really just shone a light on just minorities and underrepresented communities and financial freedom and what that looks like and how their mindsets have shifted. So thank y'all for watching. It was a pleasure to share part of my journey, and I can't wait to share more with y'all.